I believe there's about three primary things to really consider when you're looking to take on that next role. Now, specifically for those that are like, I'm ready to hire that next role that I haven't had before, and what does that look like?
Hey, it's Kay and Tanner here with Action Coach Community, and we've got a great topic for you today. We're going to be talking all about talent recruiting and sustaining and just building an awesome team. So, Tanner, I'm so excited to talk about this. I think it's something that so many business owners are maybe at that cusp of their first hire, or maybe they're starting over and hiring a new team. So, I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's a very fun topic, and it was really relevant to me in the last I don't know, a couple of days. I was just thinking a lot about this, and really kind of what we're going to go through, or kind of where we can go with this conversation is I believe there's about three primary things to really consider when you're looking to take on that next role. Now, specifically for those that are like, I'm ready to hire that next role that I haven't had before, and what does that look like? I was having a conversation with a business owner doing a couple million a year. Had a bunch of sales team members, had some good operations people doing the work, things like that. But now they're ready to hire some different roles that they hadn't had before, and this became really apparent even in his business as we walked through the process of they hired this person, and it was a couple different marketing roles. They hadn't had it before. They didn't know how to measure them. Now all of a sudden they're 6 months in. I don't know if it's working or not. They might be losing money on that team member. A whole bunch of stuff that comes along with it. Um, I I really felt the pain with that because we've seen it, we've experienced it. For those in the audience that don't know, we've gone through a lot of different iterations in building our business, and one of those is we had hired team in the past, had some really good team, had some team that was not really that great, and frankly speaking sucked at management. And there was pieces that were missing in the puzzle that at the end of the day they weren't getting the result for the position that they had. And unfortunately that led to a position in the business where we had to let a few folks go. And it's just painful and uncomfortable to go through and learn that lesson. Since learning that lesson, we've gone through what are these three things, and really started to implement them and have built a very different structure of a team with a lot greater success, both for the individuals and obviously for us as a business as well.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing a bit about that story. And I'm excited to dive into this topic because, as a business owner myself, I've been at that point of, making that first hire. And so I think there's going to be some great value here. So let's talk about those three things. What are some of those ways we can find success in the hiring process?
So let's break it down with each one individually. And that first thing that I think is really important, and it seems simple on the surface, but I want to kind of dig into it. And it's really identifying the position itself and the result that that drives for the business. So what I mean by this is getting very granular. Like, what specifically does that role do? How does it impact the business? Like, every individual that you hire for in on your team should impact the P&L, should impact profitability in a positive way for the business. Now, some people out there may be going, "Well, Tanner, that seems a little crazy." It's like, well, yes, you can take maybe a marketing or a sales role, and that can be pretty easy. Like, obviously, if they make sales, that impacts profitability of the business. But what about the admin team member, the front desk team member? Taking an admin, what do they take off the plate of maybe you as the business owner that allows you then to go do the revenue generating thing? So there's always a way to kind of tie it back to real results in the business. So I think identifying the position itself, like what do they do specifically? Where are they specializing? Are they specializing in one very specific area? Is it a couple different more broad areas? But getting very specific about it so that when you ask questions to the candidate, they should be able to speak intelligently about those specific things and help you uncover even more about their ability to do the job. So identifying the position and what result that has for the business is probably the first thing to do before you can take any next step when it comes to hiring for that next role.
Oh, definitely. That makes so much sense. And especially, I think as a business owner, it's so important to look at, what do you need here? Because it may be like you said two things that really stood out to me. One being it may be a very specific role, like a very individualized, like they need certain skill sets, or maybe it is something a little broader where you need someone who's more of a um, someone who can fill gaps in multiple areas and someone very flexible. So that's really important, thinking about who do you really need and to really generate some value to the business and some growth for the business.
Yeah, and on that topic, and this is something that we can probably dive into in another conversation because it takes this whole conversation in a different direction, on topic, off topic. But it's, how do we scale and grow a business? And at the very beginning, your first couple hires are going to be more generalist. You're going to hire somebody that can do marketing, and marketing is this big, crazy thing. As you go, continue to grow in the business, then you're going to start to divide the role into multiple different pieces that are way more specialized. So instead of having, the marketing person that's managing all marketing, you may now hire the digital marketing person that does all paid ads and social stuff and email campaigns, things like that. And then you hire the offline type marketing person that's responsible for, I don't know, networking or strategic partners or ensuring that referrals are happening, or little things like that. Now all of a sudden we've gotten a little bit more specific in the role, continue to grow, and now you're going to get even more specific. Now you've got specialized roles within the digital side. Now I've got somebody that does paid ads, and I've got somebody that does organic social, and I've got somebody that does um, you know, video and content stuff, more on the creative side. And then you might go more specialized from there. It's not just paid ads, it's Facebook ads, it's Google ads, right? And you start to build out this layered team of people that are really hyper specialized in each area. But you don't go from day one and say, all right, I'm going to go hire the Facebook ads person when I have nobody running marketing. You start with the generalized piece and then start to go from there. That's why, identifying what that role is the first step in understanding kind of the next two components that we'll go through here in just a moment.
Wow, that makes so much sense. And it really, as your business grows, your team can grow and develop. So that's really cool to see how it can, start more general and then just like, yeah, become into those specifics as you grow. Very cool.
Yeah. So the next natural question is what's number two, right?
Hmm.
If identifying the position and the result for the business is the first thing, then what's the second one? And I think that at least in my experience, both me personally as a manager in growing a business and with many of the clients that we've worked with, this tends to be a very overlooked one. And that is, how are we going to measure results?
Hmm.
So that could be a daily scorecard, a weekly scorecard. It could be, what are the things that we're measuring consistently for the team member that we're bringing on? How did they know that they're successful in their role? Which then feeds into, how do I know that they're on track to be successful in the position in the company, and we're ultimately getting the result that we're looking for. At the end of the day, if you want to make more money as an employee in a business, make the business more money, and things will be very positive from there. So how do we help them with that path? How do we help them understand and see what needs to be measured, and how do we measure that consistently? I think it's really important for the business, right? As a manager, I want to be able to see and have optics of, okay, this person's underperforming here, they're overperforming in this area, which tells us, is it a skill deficiency that I need to take ownership with and go train it? Or are they just missing something else and they weren't the right fit and we got the wrong hire in the position, which does happen, right? As you continue this journey of learning how to hire, those types of things will happen, but we need to see how is that individual progressing within their role, and how do we help continue to guide them to success. um, I'm a firm believer that the more that's articulated up front, in the interviews, have this conversation saying, hey, these are the results that are responsible for the position. Here's how you're going to be measured on it, which means here's how we're going to help you be successful. Because I would imagine, being a team member, if you're watching this and you've ever been an employee, the clearer the path for success on how to be successful, and the more success you had in a role, the better you feel, right? It's
Mm,
just,
definitely.
it's a big piece with that. So I think the measurement piece is really important. And if we don't have it, they could be a really good team member and just not be hitting full potential because we don't know what's actually happening within the role.
Oh, you brought up some really great points because it just gives you that quantifiable, you know, tool to help them develop and help the team grow. So I think that's really crucial too. And it's helpful. And it also as the employee too helps them to have that clear like understanding and transparency too of their like how they can grow in the company. So I think that off the bat, that's like such a great way to go. So yeah.
And I'll add a couple examples. So for those that are listening to this and are like, okay, I can kind of understand the marketing, the sales type of a role. All right, I've got number of appointments booked, how many of them are showing up, like what's the conversion rate. Fairly simple things to track because it goes along with that entire position. Those are some simple ways. But what about these team members that are not directly tied to revenue generation? I've got a front desk person as an example. Well, how did they fit into this? How do I measure things for them? Probably the best example that I've seen is, okay, well, it's their job to make sure that every single time somebody walks in the door, every single time they answer the phone, they're smiling and they've got this positive demeanor every single time that kind of thing happens within the business. Well, then maybe the measurement for that is what percentage of your time or what percentage of the calls that you've answered of people walking in did you achieve the I smiling and was upbeat. It's subjective. They have to grade themselves on it, but it gives you that spectrum of saying, okay, well, is it realistic to anticipate that that's going to happen 100% of the time? Maybe not. So maybe the standard is 90% of the time they get to grade, well, I got to 85 today, or I got to 92% today. And now we can actually see a measurable way to see how they're doing in that position.
Definitely. I like the hands-on approach too of like them doing their grading and them, able to be an active role in their learning and see see how they're doing and the progress that they're making. And also to allow them when they have questions or are feeling maybe something's off, they can reach out, and say, okay, how can I help? How can I, set myself up for success? Or how can we work together to overcome this? So I think that's really huge and that can really help with that.
Oh man, you're hitting on a huge piece when it comes to the management of team members, and maybe that's another kind of side topic that we get into. But it's not about the manager dictating that these are the standards. Yes, it needs to be said and shared as the baseline for the position. But it's not, me as a manager coming in saying, "All right, what are your numbers today?" The team member should know that it's their responsibility. They get to take ownership over the fact of, here's what the standard is. I'm going to try and achieve this. I'm off
Mhm.
here. I'm not off here. Here's why, which could be, man, it was just an off day, or it could be, I feel like I'm missing some things here. I continue to get this objection. Like, how do I proactively get better at it? When
Mhm.
they take that ownership and they, take responsibility over kind of all of the results within their role, they're just reporting it back to the managers. The manager can help guide them to be the best that they can. And I think that's really the recipe for long-term management success and building a really solid culture within a business that also has a high performance level, is really allowing the team members to know, here's what the baseline is. Now I'm going to take responsibility and ownership over what those numbers are and how to report them.
Definitely, definitely, and I've seen, like, that in my own, work that I'm doing within my company and working for other people that when it is that collaborative approach, it just it's there's so much further with the results. I think it's just creates that opportunity to, for growth mindedness to happen.
So we've got the identifying the position, the result. We've got how to measure it. Well, what next?
Mhm,
We've got this position thing that's here. How do we get people in the door? Like, how do we get candidates in? I hear oftentimes that I can't find great people and all that kind of stuff. Now, part of that comes with how clear is the position itself. But another big piece is like, how do I recruit people? And how
mhm.
do I get people to apply for this position? And then we can get into the actual hiring process, which is beyond the scope of this conversation today. So recruitment becomes that third piece. And if there's anything that I could do and kind of ingrain in everyone's mind today, is remove recruitment with advertising to your target market,
Mhm.
which means that one, we have to have an advertisement. A job positional agreement is not an advertisement. Job ad is very different. Like that needs to speak to the person that you want to draw in and get them excited about the application process. The job position is what they or the positional agreement is what they sign when they actually choose to take the offer. Um, and this is probably one of the, again, maybe the second largest misstep that I see in a lot of businesses, especially newer to hiring, is they forget that this is a marketing and advertising process. So this goes into getting super specific on who's the target market, which is who is the prospective candidate that is the best fit for this position. I've just outlined what it is. Who's the best fit for that? What's their personality type? What's their communication style? What types of jobs if they had in the past? Like what types of things do I want to see, and getting super clear on sending that message out, because you don't want to just get 500 applications of just anybody. You want to get applications from those that are the best fit, which will save you time as you recruit and hire, and you'll get to pick from a really high quality group of people to join your team. So the advertising and choosing the target market is really a big piece when it comes to successful recruiting long term within any business.
Oh wow. Well, that sheds so much light because it's so important to put it out there. Like you have this job, you need this help. It makes so much sense to just like create something around that that's going to inspire that person and be like, that aligns really really well with what my skills are and makes them feel good about applying for the job.
Yeah, and I'll say this: you kind of got to look at the position that you're hiring for, but most of the time, you look at, especially when employment rate is really low, where are the best candidates? Are they on the open job market? Probably not. Where are they? They're working for other people already. If you, especially if you're looking to hire superstars, the likelihood of them just being out there saying, I'm going to look at Indeed and see if I can find a job today is pretty low. Now, yes, they are out there and you might catch them at the right time and things like that. But when it comes to recruitment and doing really good advertising for this position and looking for the right people, you got to be okay with stealing them from somebody else. Otherwise, you'll never get the top talent, right? I keep seeing over and over again right now, LinkedIn feed, it's like this person started a new position, this person started a new position. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. But they didn't necessarily just get fired from a job and then went and looked for something else. They
Mhm.
were in a position and they found something that was better, which means that sometimes that recruitment or advertising tool that you use has to be beyond just traditional like job boards. Like
Mhm.
actually run an ad to where that target market or that target prospect would be. Hire a recruiting agency that knows how to go have those conversations and has the network of the type of people that you want to hire. Obviously, it depends on the role that you're hiring for, but
Mhm.
that's where the recruitment gets really, really good, because it is a targeted marketing strategy to bring the right people into the funnel to continue to grow your business from within.
Wow. Well, those tips were incredible. I think this is such valuable advice for business owners, whether you're at that beginning journey of the hiring process, or like you said, maybe it's a new specialty role, or maybe you're starting over, hiring a new team. But these topics, I think those are three like simple things to remember that can help set you up for success when it comes to hiring.